Okay, so today we'll be talking about China and just uh, more particularly just the Chinese Texans. Kind of go into the whole process and journey as far as them coming from China and the different things that just they had to go through just to start their lives here in America and here in Texas in general, or more specifically. So I mean, as you can see, this picture was taken um, sometime between 1910 and 1940, and or this was just a time period as far as when this happened. But you can see there's a picture of this of a mother and her son, and just look at see this what they're wearing. The reason for this is. Immigrants coming into America, they were retained for some period, and words from the mother were just that there was just an attitude from the American people, and it was just that most of them didn't that they were saying that most people didn't deserve to come in. That I felt like I took that in as far as that if you were an outsider that you weren't good enough or something like that. So there was a just a prejudgment even before they even knew who you were or what it was that you were trying to do here. And I mean, as far as the Chinese people in general, they saw opportunity in America and wanted to make the most of it. So they just were not only trying to come and better their lives for themselves, but for their children, for generations to come. No, it's nothing as far as um, any violent action or trying to come and just make make this more territory for China or nothing like that. They just saw the opportunity here in America and just wanted to come and live the dream and just better the opportunity for themselves and for their future family, like I said before. But as you can see, I mean, here in the late 30s, after were they would get all the documentation and things they needed. They were put into these Chinese communities where they went to school, and they were kind of still isolated, but they were able to do kind of their own thing as far as go to school, and they own their own little businesses. But as far as doing like what they wanted freely, it kind of wasn't like that because they weren't really allowed to go out. It was either you were in school or you were working at the family business, whether that being a store, candy store, or anything like that. I mean, the days that they were able to go out was when the store was closed because there was no school, and then the store was closed, so you were able to go out. But that was only on Sundays, if that. This individual, General John J. Piercing, was kind of influential as far as to the Chinese because there was a time where he was set on an expedition, and he was having troubles as far as getting supplies for his troops and for him. And in the particular area they were at, the Chinese communities were willing to help and do what they needed to help for him because he was in such need. So General John Pershing took that to heart, and because of the actions committed by the Chinese communities, he was willing to protect them and kind of just look out for them and have their back because he knew times were tough for them. But I mean, he firsthand saw the type of individuals that they were, and they were good-hearted people, and just wanted, like I said, to better their lives. And they didn't want no harm. They were just here to do their thing, and just to live the American dream like everyone else. And General Pershing saw that, and because when he was in time of need, they were the ones there to help him. So, in saying that, I mean, as time went on, General Pershing had their back and was willing to do what he had to do to stick up for the Chinese communities. And in doing that, I mean, with time, you have individuals like Mr. T.J. Lee, who was the first elected Chinese Texan in the Texas House of Representatives obviously from here in Bayshore County. And I mean, it was just an honor because for one, he was the first, and just for the trouble that the Chinese community had gone through, just to simply. They had to do more than just say that they were here. They had to show through their actions and the things they were put through. They had to stand strong and just go through it just in order to show that they were here for the right purpose. And then going on with that, you have individuals also like CB, Albert G, and Mary Egg, who were very influential, not only for the Chinese community, but as far as getting their name out in a positive way to the rest of the society, and just showing that they were good people and good-hearted and good-willing people, ready to just interact and be involved with the community as a whole, and not just be isolated and singled out. That they were here for America, not they were there, that they were Chinese Americans and Chinese Texans, and not just individuals as far as just an outsiders or something, or labeled as outsiders or anything like that. And I mean, you can kind of just see with years that just how it started merging, and how just society started becoming, as far as somewhat of a whole, because you had the trends that the Chinese brought to America, and just how it started floating and filtering through, and it started like with their clothing. The type of clothing that they wore in China was trending. You had Americans who saw that, and they were attracted to it. And not only did they feel like it was just a fashion statement, but I mean the clothing in general felt comfortable, and it was something that you could look good and feel good at the same time. And I mean, it's one of those things that it wasn't just going to be a one-time thing. That you have individuals still to this day that wear things that have originated from the Chinese culture in just different areas in that part. And just to kind of continue with that, Chinese music is one of the oldest and probably most developed in the world, not just in this area, but in the world. You have music artists who might have picked parts and pieces that have derived from the Chinese culture, and just have done their own thing and made a name for themselves. But the Chinese music being one of the oldest types of music out there, you have many genres that have derived from it, as far as opera, folk music. I mean, orchestra, different types of things, and you have these instruments that were created in China that have evolved and been innovated and remade into these new and much more productive creations that have not only just boosted the music industry, but as far as music in general. And I mean, to this picture to the right, you have the dragon, which is used in celebrations, and as far as here in America, how you could kind of relate that is just like parades and stuff. You see floats, and you see blimps that have made their way into parades, and just that's kind of a big thing that people look for. As far as like you got your Thanksgiving and Christmas parades, when you have the big old blimps floating around, and the floats, obviously. Those are things that make parades. And where does that come from? I mean, it's derived from the Chinese culture, from the dragons that were walked through the streets during big celebrations, depending on what they were. But I mean, it's just things like that it starts as a dragon, and it's came into this day as as floats and this blimps and stuff like that. So it's crazy just to think about like what things were brought into this world as, and what they've evolved into.